What's up, guys, and welcome back to Project Time Tech. You know, if you have watched either this channel or my primary YouTube channel, Project Time Garage, for any length of time, then you'll know that I kind of gravitate toward things that are old and odd. Come to think of that, I'm kind of old and odd. In keeping with that theme, today on the project bench is this. This is the Compaq TC1000 laptop / tablet. Yeah, because it actually turns around, folds down, and becomes a tablet. In fact, tablet form is its primary form, which makes it really, really odd. Not to mention how strange it looks just all by itself. These were pretty far ahead of their time. I mean, it was one of the very first machines that was able to share a form factor or be convertible between a laptop and a tablet form factor. I actually daily drove one of these units back in, I don't know, early to mid 2000s somewhere. These came out in 03, obviously when it was still a Compaq name. And the two things that stand out to me daily driving this were that the number of people that would ask questions about it, about what is that, where did you get that, how much did it cost, those types of things. It generated a whole bunch of interest. The second thing I remember about it is it was an absolute dog. I mean, this thing was pig slow. Mechanical hard drive, Windows XP, 256 megs of RAM, a Crusoe processor. I mean, it just gets worse and worse. And the screen wasn't very good either. But, you know, for all the things that it lacked in horsepower and usability, it more than made up for with looks and style. I mean, let's face it, this thing is sexy. This particular machine I found on eBay, and it's actually in remarkably good shape. I mean, this thing is absolutely fantastic. And I was able to get the machine and a couple of keyboards. The keyboards actually detach on these things. There's actually a release mechanism here on the back, and you can pull it, and it's like this. And actually, in tablet form, this is where the machine was designed to be. It was designed first and foremost as a tablet. And I guess somebody at Compaq decided that it would be really handy to put a keyboard on this. So they did. And they hit a home run as far as I'm concerned, because it really strikes a good balance between the two. Of course, the implementation of all this stuff back in those days was very early. So, you know, it had some issues. But hey, as far as I'm concerned, it was pretty good. My goal for this is to maybe try to speed this thing up some. I think it's got the base 256 megs of RAM. I've really never looked into whether or not you can upgrade the RAM in these. Surely you can. I know that we're going to move it over to an SSD hard drive. Hopefully there's some cool software on here. The seller just said it works 100%. But I don't really know what's on it. I don't know if it's still got Windows Tablet or something else, or, you know, maybe the hard drive is busted. I don't know. We're going to figure that out here very shortly. So my ultimate goal here, once we get some upgrades done to it or get it a little bit speedier, is to factory restore it. I'd like to put it back to the way that it rolled off the assembly line from Compaq. That's going to involve doing a factory restore on it. I was able to find the factory restore discs out on the Internet Archive, and I've downloaded those and I've burned the discs. They're ISO images when you download them, but if you open the ISO image, they're actually single PQI files inside there, which PQI was a PowerQuest, what was that, drive image, I believe it was. This company was later bought by Norton Ghost, so this is a pretty old piece of software. And if I'm not mistaken, this piece of software was made before Norton Ghost. But anyway, I digress. Regardless, they're a password protected archive. I've got the password, but there again, you can't really do anything with them. When you get to that PQI file, you can't really open it and extract it to an ISO easily. Compaq was famous in these days for locking stuff up so that it was impossible to use it even on the machine it was intended for, let alone use it for something else. So we'll get this thing up and going, and we'll try to do a factory restore. Now, I don't have a CD-ROM with this device. And even though I did purchase a dock separately for it, it has a spot for the CD-ROM or for a multi-bay device, but it doesn't have anything in it. So I don't know what we'll do there. I think maybe we'll try to use a USB CD-ROM drive and see if that works. See if we can get it loaded up that way. If we can't, well, we'll do something else. But either way, we'll get it factory restored one way or the other. So let me kind of introduce you to the machine a little bit more and some of its specs and quirks, and then we'll get it on the bench. We'll get to work. Released in 2003, prior to Compact's purchase by Hewlett-Packard, the Compaq TC1000 is a 10.4-inch tablet with some cool tricks up its sleeve. This machine can operate in traditional laptop mode or in tablet mode, which is accomplished by twisting the screen around and folding the keyboard behind it, a lot like the Lenovo Twist, which is another interesting machine for another video. The TC1000 features a Crusoe 5800 processor running at 1 GHz. Although a later model, the TC1100, which was released by Hewlett-Packard, featured a Pentium M processor, was a very similar machine and was quite a bit more capable. This machine came with 256 megs of RAM and a choice of IDE hard drives ranging from 30 gig to 60 gig. The display is a 10.4-inch with a resolution of 1024 by 768. The primary input device for the TC1000 was the digitizer pen, which lacks pressure input sadly. Graphics are handled by an NVIDIA GeForce To-Go with 16 megabytes of RAM. There was also an optional keyboard available, which was nearly the same size as the full-size notebook keyboard, making it a very nice keyboard to type on. The keyboard also had a pointing stick and mouse buttons on it, making it very notebook-like. For connectivity, it sports an internal Wi-Fi card, which is 802.11b, a 10100 Ethernet port, 56K modem, a single Type 2 PC card, which supports both 16 and 32-bit cards, 2 USB ports, 1 VGA output, and your standard fare audio input-output ports. More connectivity options were available via the optional docking station, which looks really elegant and pretty well thought out. It offered 4 more USB ports, another 10100 Ethernet port, an additional VGA output, audio input and output ports, a charging port, and a multi-bay port. Well, now it's time to have fun. Let's see what's on the machine. Let's see if it'll boot. Let's see if it'll work. Like I said, the seller says it's 100% working, so we're going to find that out. I've gone ahead and put it in the dock, and the big reason for that is, you know, I can plug up my screen capture device, you know, and everything, and have it sitting on the table. USB devices and everything's not all janky. And so in order to do that, though, I can't use the built-in keyboard, and since I don't really have a USB keyboard accessible, I have this little thing. This is probably the handiest dadgum thing. It's a wireless receiver that goes, a USB wireless receiver that goes back here that's just plugged into the machine. It charges via USB, and usually whenever I use it, I plug it up, but to be honest, it's pretty much never dead. So let's turn it on. Let's boot the machine. Let's see what it's going to do for us. Power button's up here on the top. We just slide it back to us and hold it a second. Nope. Slide it back to us, hold it a second. There it goes. All right, and our keyboard's charging, so that's good. And it is on. All right, ooh, got a splash screen. Okay, Puppy Linux. Oh, it says Windows. Let's say Windows. No Windows. So, looks like it's going to be Puppy Linux, which means boo. Okay, let's boot it. Obviously, this isn't going to stay. Like I said earlier, we're going to factory restore this thing completely and totally. Oh, am I not recording this? So it looks like either my screen capture isn't working, or it looks like this thing isn't. Oh, there it comes. All right. I have a mouse, so that's good. I'll bet you somebody did this because they couldn't, they were having problems getting it factory restored. Be willing to bet. All right. And you see how bad this screen is versus the screen capture. Huge difference. Huge difference. These screens were not great. All right, well, to be honest, I don't even care what's on this. Now that I see this is here, I think I'm ready just to go straight toward the factory imaging of it. I'm going to do this a little different than I normally would. So usually I would just take an image of the factory hard drive, the mechanical drive, and I would put that away so that, you know, that drive was unaltered, and if I ever wanted to go back to the stock drive, I could. But in this case, since it's got Puppy Linux on it, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and restore the machine to this drive and make this drive original again, if it even is the original drive. But at least I'll have a factory image on here. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'll either clone that drive, or maybe I'll just slap an SSD in there and image it again, or, you know, factory restore it again. It's probably just as quick to do that. All right, so we're going to factory restore it. Let me get out the factory restore CDs and the CD drive. This is my little desktop Pioneer CDRW DVD Blu-ray blah 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 drive. Does pretty much everything else. So that's what we're going to use in order to do this image. So let's power the thing up and let's get into the BIOS and make sure that where we're set to boot from. Now on these, it's got this rolly wheel up here, and you can hit that rolly wheel or the jog dial, and you get some options here. I'm going to select boot device. Look at that. Select boot device. Let me open this and pop in my disk. These are the restore CDs that I made earlier, and pop that in there. Let it spin up. Hopefully it will. All right. So we'll choose, I don't have any mouse control here. We'll use ATAPI CD-ROM drive. We can use the jog wheel here and press OK on that. And there goes my drive spinning up. Wow, okay, cool. We're on the way to getting this done. Unfortunately, you're going to have to use this screen for now because I don't have any VGA output outside of Windows, it looks like, or outside of some OS. Okay, USB CD-ROM support enabled, CD-ROM not installed, USB drive support is disabled. This is what I was talking about earlier about Compaq just thriving on making stuff extremely difficult. So basically, if I'm reading this right, you cannot restore this device via a USB CD-ROM drive. Nice. It even goes down here and says, DOS USB stack driver with USB storage extensions, Cypress Semiconductor, 2000-2002. It initializes the USB controller, plug in USB CD-ROM, plug in USB CD-ROM. Press escape to cancel. Is it telling me just to unplug it and plug it in? Let's do that. Unplug, and plug in. I just plugged it in. No. Failed to load USB storage device. Again, it's just telling us that we're not going to be able to do this way. Failed to load USB storage device. Nice. Well, what's next? How do we recover from this? So what I'm thinking here is, I'm thinking that Compaq wants you to use the Compaq official multi-bay drive or whatever in order to restore this thing, and which is odd because the multi-bay drive that you would buy just with this laptop, I think, is USB. So I don't know why it would have USB support disabled, but it does. So hear me out on this, okay? I have this. This is a Compaq Armada M300, and it is sitting on a little docking station. And inside that docking station is a CD-ROM, CDRW, just compact disc. I think all of these Compaq devices shared basically the same disk drive under the hood. So I'm going to take this out. I'm going to pop it in this machine. We're going to see if that works or not. See if we can boot to that or not. So we'll pop that out. Which way's up? Let's see. Maybe I should power it off before I do that, so we don't blow it up immediately. At least we'll wait a couple minutes before we blow it up. There. Okay. So we'll power it up again. And I've got to get my disk in it, so I'll press this to interrupt my boot. And maybe I can, yep, so that powers up. I'll bet you this thing's going to work just fine. Okay. Select, I wish I could select my boot device. I wish my arrow keys, I wish I knew how to work my keyboard. I was thinking it had arrow keys on it, but it does not have arrow keys. At least it doesn't work. Anyway, jog down here to select boot device. Select boot device. ATAPI CD-ROM drive. Let's see what this does. Unable to detect ATAPI IDE CD-ROM drive. ATAPI CD-ROM device driver not loaded. USB CD-ROM support enabled. That's funny. CD-ROM not, okay. Oh, but we're moving on this time. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Look at this. Ah, excellent. All right, let's run through a quick restore, which is probably going to be anything but quick. Guess what? I have no keyboard here. So my touchscreen doesn't work. And this particular PS2 emulated mouse doesn't work. I wonder if I can plug in a USB optical mouse and get somewhere. I don't think so. I think I'm gonna have to reboot this thing again. So let's turn it off and back on, and let's see if we can get it done this way. Let's see here. Will it just automatically boot to that drive? It should, right? Surely the CD drive is higher in the boot order, right? Surely. Yeah, it's booting from it. Okay, cool. All right. I've got some kind of input going on here because it's making it beep. Maybe I just keep pressing this as it boots. It'll just, you know, make it mad enough that it'll just make it work. We'll see. Ah, there you go. That worked. So evidently, this thing goes to sleep whenever you stop. So evidently, that's what the deal was. I don't have a mouse of any kind, but what I do have is hopefully enough of this right here to get this done. How about Alt-N? Yep. Restore factory image. Can I tab up to it? I can. Space. Yes. Okay. Free space not found. Eject. This is going to be problematic, isn't it? Well, on today's episode of Why Isn't Easy Stuff Easy, I think I know what's going on here. Since this drive was formatted with a non-Windows partition, I'm pretty sure that's what's going on. Probably PowerQuest can't handle that, and it doesn't see free space and just panics and jumps out. So that means that I'm going to take a King Spec 32 gig IDE drive. I'm just going to throw that in there, and we're going to see if we can make this thing go using that. If that successfully works, then we'll know that's what the problem was. So let's take this thing apart. We'll just get the keyboard out of the way, and we'll see which one of these doors is hiding what we're looking for. Now, since I bought this on eBay, the seller has these stickers over everything, making sure that you don't, you know, tamper and send it back, but we've never had any intentions of sending it back in the first place. All right. This will give us a good idea of what's in here as well. All right, that doesn't just easily pop off. I'm afraid I'm going to break something. A lot of this stuff is really brittle. Hey, there's the hard drive. That was easy. Let's see what we've got in here. It's not in the original sled. I can already tell you that. It's a Hitachi. I assume that is a 30 gig drive. Yeah, 30.01 gigabytes. So we're going to replace it with a equal to or greater than 32 gig drive. These I use these little parallel ATA drives for the majority of my IDE SSD, you know, swaps. Inside it's just a tiny IDE, you know, compact file, or a tiny IDE SSD. These are very similar to the original size, and they work just great. I'll stick an Amazon link down there if you're so inclined to do the same thing. So this is going to be pretty easy, it looks like. Famous last words. I wish I knew what happened to the original drive sled that was in this thing. That would be nice, but I don't. I think at the risk of getting ahead of myself, I'm just going to stick the battery back in here. Let's see if we can figure out how that works again. Stick the battery back in here and go ahead and just try to power it right back up and see if we can get past that error this time. There we go. All right, that should be it. Also, going to do some work to this dock. It's a little bit wobbly. All right, what did we do before? We powered it on. Yeah. There, powered it on. And we just started hitting buttons the whole time it was booting up. In order, I guess BIOS is seeing it. What I was saying earlier is this keyboard goes to sleep and stops transmitting in order to save battery power. And I assume that maybe it was asleep when it booted up, so maybe it never saw that there was one there. And see, that time it didn't work. And I don't know why it didn't work, but I think maybe it's because I didn't have the mouse plugged in. It's just a guess. Is it smart enough just to pick it right up? Oh, it is. Look at that. Sweet. English. Next. And so tab, spacebar. Now let's see what it does and complains about. Oh, okay, we've gone further. I'm sure it'll die again, but we've definitely gone a lot further. Because before it died at 10%, I believe. Now it's 11. So we're getting there. All right, I think what we'll do is we will just stop and let this either work or die, whichever. So I'll see you in a minute. Or in hours. Well, I would say that is a success. That worked out pretty doggone well. Although I don't know why my keyboard decided not to work again, but I do have this handy dandy mouse. So I think what I'm going to do is just next through this and see what we get when we're done. Also, I don't know why we don't have any video up there on the video capture device. As soon as Windows came up, it went away. It may be a resolution thing. I don't know. I'm just going to keep everything the same for right now, like defaults. I'm just going to run through this, get to a desktop, and see if I can get my video cap going. I wonder if the pen works. Oh yeah, look at that. We'll skip that password. We don't need a password. It's Windows XP. Thank you. Congratulations. You're ready to go. Okay. I bet you there's a keyboard shortcut to turn on and off the exterior display or the VGA port. But if there is, I'm not seeing it. Oh look, they have that nice chromy look going on. Neat. Wow, look at that. The tablet PC tutorial. I'm not gonna do the don't show this again because I wanted to show it again. We might have to go through that tutorial at some point just to learn how to use it. Tablet PC input panel. Cool. Internal and external. Is that the OK? That's what it is. So evidently Windows handles the external display. Well, that's cool. At least now we know that. I'm not going to do anything as far as getting on the internet just yet, because, Windows XP. Let's see what some specs are of this thing real quick and see if it's got the 256 megs of RAM. I'm sure it does. No, 756 megs is what it has. So this thing has been upgraded. Crusoe 5800 Mobile Service Pack 1 Tablet Edition. Nice. Okay, well, so it actually has more RAM. And actually, if I'm being honest, this is way snappier than what I recall it being. I remember this thing being, literally just clicking the start button and running through flyouts. I remember them taking forever to open. This really is not, let me be clear, it's bad, but it's not that bad. What should we do next? Install some software? Play with our nifty pen? Actually, I know exactly what we should do next. We should handle this docking station because you can see how it's kind of split open here, and it doesn't have any retention anymore. When you put the tablet in here, it just kind of falls. So, oh look, a screw. Huh, interesting. So, I think we should take this thing apart and see what it's made of. And I think to do that, it takes a bunch of screws. And to do that, I'm getting my extra cool screwdriver kit. This is another one of those cool Amazon finds. It's basically an electric screwdriver with lights and an LCD display. Whose screwdriver doesn't need an LCD display? I'll link that down in the description too in case somebody wants it. Cool thing about it though is it comes with more bits than you're probably ever going to need for anything. There's like a zillion of them in there. Everything from eyeglass repair to, thermonuclear reactor repair. Here, I got to catch you up because I wasn't recording on my overhead camera, only on this one. So I pulled these 4 screws out. And I was thinking that maybe it came apart from the bottom, but it doesn't. It's actually the top that's loose now. So, there we go. That's pretty solid. All right. Looks like I have some Phillips head screws here, and I'm just assuming these are the ones that get it out. All these screws are kind of loose. Guess it's just where it's been moved around so much through the years. Does it just lift up? It does just lift up. Am I going to get lucky or am I going to get unlucky here? It's hard to tell. That's a tough little screw there. Is this it? Nope. Now when the repair manual is just sitting there on my computer screen. Nah, we good. Aha. So, this thing has 2 screws in it. Let's see. And I'll bet you it unplugs. This little card unplugs probably right here, and this probably unplugs right here. Good, 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 good. And I have 1 screw right here that I should be able to pop out. There we go. Now it's free. So I'm going to plug this cable back in because I didn't have to unplug it. I'm just going to set this whole thing aside because the problem isn't there. The problem is here. Can we just pull all this apart? Yeah. Gotta keep my screws separated. All these are the same. And I guess this entire little piece here just kind of separates, maybe? What are we going to find under here, do you think? Oh, nothing? Not a big deal. Yeah, none of this seems to be really a big deal. It's just got to figure out how to unclip all this without breaking it. That's my fear. I wonder if there are screws under this. You think? What do you know? Good thing I didn't get overzealous prying on that, huh? Okay, these are going to have to go separately. Now, what do we have here? Oh, that's so much better. All right. So the real problem here really just looks like the hinge itself has gotten a little bit loose over time. All right, so now we can set this aside because we're done with it. This is the problem right here. This thing has just gotten loose over time, or you know, kind of worn out over time. It seems like. Actually, oh yeah, it is a little bit loose. Okay, let's fix that. Well, what I ended up doing was I took a punch, and once I got it all put back together, I went all the way around this and basically punched pock marks in it, which kind of deforms it a little bit on the inside, and that should help me. That helped it tighten up just a ton. I mean, it's way tighter than it was. I don't know how close to good it's going to be, but it is way tighter than what it was before. So I'm going to say we stick it back together and we see if we can live with it, because short of a brand new hinge, there's not just a whole lot we can do about it, I'm afraid. I noticed putting this thing back together, you can see on the inside here where the lip of the screw, where that lip is for the screw to sit in, it's on that one, but it's broken out of all the rest of these. The screws have gone down through it. So that's kind of another one of those things that happens with old plastics. Just over time and use, they just don't hold up. And these have to be pretty tight because, you know, they hold the hinge on. Just hope I don't break that one out. We'll go right there. All right. Well, that turned out to be just about 1,000 times better. Now it actually sits where you put it. That's pretty good. It's still a little bit looser than what I wish it was, but it holds the tablet fine. You know, it doesn't try to fall. So that, I'm going to consider that taken care of. And honestly, for the amount of use this machine is going to get in the future, it's probably not going to make any difference. I think the last thing I want to do to this is I want to get it on my local network. I've got a Sandbox network that can only get to a couple of places here on my home network. And I'd like to get it to where I can get to my FTP server, which is actually in my house. I'm in a separate building right now, and I've got a 10 gig fiber link running from this building to my house. And I have a NAS there that has just lots and lots of software. And I think I'd like to install Microsoft Office XP on this, since it's the right version for it. And I think at that point, I'm cool just to, you know, put it on the shelf and leave it alone and come back and play with it occasionally, because, you know, it's just so cool, right? It's just so cool. Well, the first thing I want to do is I want to see if I can get some screen brightness going on, because it's kind of washed out. All right, so let's go. That's full brightness right there. We'll see what that does. So to get on the network, let's so I have a wireless network here called Retro, and there's only a couple of access points that broadcast that, and it's basically just, you know, it's very close to this building here, which is very far away from everything else in the world. So, and this has me VLAN'd out so that I can't do very much, but I can get to some services in my house. In this case, let's jump into Exploder. And let's see if we can FTP 192.168.220.252. Survey says I can. Sort of. There we go. There we go. All right, so I have a software directory here and an antique software directory. And this Microsoft Office and Office XP. So what I'll do is I'll just take this Office XP folder and I'll just copy it right out here to the desktop. If this were SMB, I would probably just install it across the network. But being a pretty light Wi-Fi connection, this thing can't handle a lot of speed. So I'm probably definitely better off doing it this way. 2 hours and 7 minutes remaining. Oh boy. Okay, got tired of waiting and just threw this on a USB stick. Let's just install directly from the USB stick because, well, it should be just about as fast as a CD-ROM, I would think. I think this thing has USB 2, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't really looked that hard at the specs, but I think that's what it is. Well, that's got Office installed, so I guess I can get rid of that installation deal there. You know, just kind of looking around on this machine, and again, I'll say it's way snappier than I ever remember it being. But evidently, I don't really remember this being on here. But this Franklin Covey tablet planner, this was actually a pretty cool thing. No, I didn't buy it. No, I didn't crack it either. But this was actually a pretty cool thing. I remember kind of playing around with this back when I had my tablet. And what I remember about it was the handwriting was actually pretty good. This kind of took the place of the Daytimer, if you guys remember Daytimers way back when. But from here, you can do like a new note. And for your title, let's see, let's erase that. There, back to the pen. We can call this test note or whatever. As far as writing, we can just come in here and actually start writing. And believe it or not, my handwriting sucks, but this isn't bad. So this is a test. And honestly, as far as writing, this actually is every bit as good as my, it feels every bit as good as my Surface. In fact, in some ways, it actually feels a little bit better because the screen has a little bit of a texture to it. So when the pen goes over it, you feel a little bit of like resistance. It kind of feels more like paper. This was never a bad deal as far as this goes. Now, again, you know, the machine's kind of slow and stuff, but yeah, this is not a bad gig at all. Also, I'm really surprised this pen still works, because this is a quadruple A battery and it's still going. Either somebody replaced it or I'm just really lucky. But anyway, the screen is not touch screen. You have to use the digitizer to make that go. But for all intents and purposes, you know, it's I just opened MSN Explorer, never again. For all intents and purposes, it's actually you know, it's a pretty usable machine. Of course, now MSN Messenger is like really excited that somebody actually opened it, because I think probably nobody ever opened MSN Explorer because, well, you know, MSN Explorer. And I haven't even calibrated the pen yet, and it's still pretty good. There was a plugin, I do believe, where you could do handwriting, I believe in Word. I think I remember doing some of that. I used to use this a lot in the IT world, going out to client sites when you were preparing to do like a network job or getting ready to bid a job or whatever. It was really handy to carry that around, and you can take notes with it, or you could, you know, like draw like room dimensions and rough layout of where stuff was going to go. It turned out to be extremely handy for that. All that's been replaced today. I use OneNote, and it's all synchronized back to Office, so that's kind of handy. And I use like a Microsoft Surface when I'm out and about like that. So this was kind of the precursor to that. So anyway, it's been a blast playing around with this machine and you know, kind of reliving some cool stuff from back in the day. So this thing will go into my my collection. And we're going to start looking for the next odd machine. If you guys have any thoughts on weird machines from like XP era back, man, I'd love to hear about it. If you can give me some good ideas, I'll go out and grab them, and we'll do some videos on them. Like I said, old and weird, that's kind of where I live. Guys, appreciate you watching. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up and a like down there. It really helps this channel grow. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Again, we're almost to that 1,000 subscribers mark. I think we got about, what, 50 or 60 to go. So really appreciate you subscribing if you haven't already. Helps me out a ton also. Till next time, guys, thanks for watching.